What is the definition of success? So what are you striving to achieve and why? Let's just have a bit of a laugh with it and see where it goes. Be open-minded.
Yes! 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 They've only gone and done it.
I just remember Clive Woodward saying in that there was an hour and a half where he logged on at the chamber, saying sport is business. You know, what actually is the definition of business? Sport is business. There's money involved. I mean, fundamentally, sports, and particularly successful ones, they're striving to achieve something. So, as you are in business. And it's just defining what that is. So in a business, you want to define actually what the definition of success is, and it's exactly the same for sport. And once you actually establish what that is, you then need to actually work out how you're going to do it, which might involve a little bit of dedication, bit of training, bit of, you know, whatever it might be, engaging with the right individuals, coaches, training partners, you know, just make sure you're mixing with the right people, eating the right things, you know, and all these things impact on performance and will fundamentally, it will establish whether you actually achieve what you want to achieve. And it's exactly the same for business. It's the same. So again, I mean, just on the same principle thing, you can tell that each of the players, so great football teams, from what I can tell, individuals will know exactly what's expected of them. They know what their definition of doing a good job is. They'll also know the definition of their colleagues. You know, and hence that second nature in terms of knowing potentially where they're going to be, and I think providing us real clarity in terms of what the definition of success is and what that left back needs to do and the holding midfielder needs to do, and so long as they're not overburdened and they can do a great job of those things, that's I think that's what breeds confidence and performance, because if you're not confident, you're fucked. You know, talent's only going to get you so far. Confidence, clarity in terms of what it is you should be doing, and just with that, just enjoyment spirals out of it, and you know, and I think that's where I get a sense that the individuals know what their role is within the team, that they know what other players are, and hence there's a unity, I guess, in terms of the way that they seem to be playing now. You know what, that is business to a T, isn't it, in terms of individuals, and just wanting individuals to be clear about actually what it is they should be doing and what defines success.
There's still players that Southgate has elected not to play. How do you make sure that the team is pulling together in this right direction when certain members of the team might not be at the forefront of what's being achieved on the pitch?
Do you know, I suspect that will be immense leadership and management. Whatever he's talking to them about, they're absolutely engaged and they're buzzing about the fact that their team members are performing. That's difficult. I suspect he's been really straight, honest. There's no bullshit there. They understand the role they're playing. They understand logic behind the decisions that have been made, and they understand that potentially they're going to play a crucial role in potentially the final. So he's got that. He's clearly created a real sense of camaraderie and unity and stuff. So you just got to give him massive credit for whatever he's saying to them. Do you know the biggest, the absolute key, and this is where I think we should take huge strength from last night, for me, is how teams and how players react to something bad. So last night we conceded our first goal. And again, this is massively linked to business, because I always think the true test of a leader, a manager, is about how they perform, how they conduct themselves when actually things are not going right. Because that's where you see the blame shit, that's where you see the looking for excuses, that's where you suddenly, these values are just thrown out the window because actually they don't feel so great, and they start to panic. They're angry, and the reality was that was always going to be a test because we'd not conceded, and we scored within 5 minutes. We just missed a chance just before that. I think we were even talking about Kane saying about just trying to keep his players, just keeping context, and you know, and you just know that had we gone in at 1-0, that Southgate would not be blaming people in terms of why they were, and do you know that is a massive thing, and I suspect is why we managed to pull it round in a way that actually in years gone by it doesn't happen. You know, and it's difficult. You know, when things are going bad, it's very, very easy to let your head drop, to start to panic. And great teams, great sporting teams, great businesses, they don't do that. They absolutely maintain. You know, if they've made a mistake, then it's what can we learn from it? You know, was the decision made with the best intent? Was it a logical decision? Did we just have to suck it and accept and just crack on with it? Because that's what great sports people do, and that's what great business people do. And there's not that many of either.
You see that Southgate was encouraging the team to slow the pace down after they conceded. Can you see a correlation between that and after making a mistake or not achieving a target in business as well? Is there, because people like to.
Yeah, deep breath scenario. I think you know, if you're disappointed in something, maybe just don't knee-jerk into doing something. So I guess really it's just important to actually, before you start taking risks, is just make sure you've got a clear head and you're making the right call, or you think you've given opportunity to actually space to think about it. Yeah, business. If something really goes wrong on a particular afternoon, don't necessarily respond and do something that afternoon. You know what? Sleep on it. See how you feel the next day. You know, it doesn't matter how logical you are. Naturally, you're going to let emotions impact how you react. And in that instance there, they can't sleep on that. But what they can do is at least just have 5 minutes where you take breath. Don't do anything silly in the next 5 minutes because you could lose the match. And he's obviously got that. He's got that in them. It doesn't feel as though I'd be amazed if there's any sort of blame culture within there. There's the freedom to actually go out and perform. And if they perform well, brilliant. If they don't perform, you just know that actually people are not going to be, you know, they're not going to be blamed in a way that actually it's happened before within England, and it certainly happens all the time in sport and business. Believe, and don't expect everything's going to go right. Accept that things will go wrong. And if it goes wrong, you'll be able to deal with it. If it doesn't go wrong, brilliant. But just accept that actually there will be challenges out there, and that's why it's not a doddle to be successful in these things, because it's really hard if something goes wrong about keeping that head. So I think really it's just believe, regardless as to what happens in that first 5 minutes, they've just got to believe in themselves, in doing a great job. And if they do that, opportunities will come to get them back on track, and that's business. Always opportunities will come. You might not know what the opportunities are, but they'll come if you do the right things. You know the Guinness advert with the Gaelic, is it Gaelic football? Not Gaelic football, or the hurling.
Hurling.
You know the one where he's got that bat, and he's got the final kick or whatever it is they do, and suddenly he's looking at the opposition and they're all turning into skull and crossbones, and suddenly he manages to gather his head and up pops believe, and it fizzles up and then all you see in the advert is him swinging, and he's just got belief. you know he's going to get it over. So yeah.
Believe.
Yeah, believe. Have a bit of a laugh with it and see where it goes. Go open-minded.